from speaking to some of the miners here in Marikana, they felt that the politicians had a very large role to play in how the tragedy unfolded. And they're very angry because we do know that the Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa, he wrote an email to Lonmin management asking them to take concomitant action regarding the striking miners. And that added to the climate of fear throughout that period. And the miners certainly feel that the politicians are getting away scot-free, and now the police hierarchy, in a sense, is going to be taking the blame for it. Who made the order for the miners to be shot down? The report doesn't clarify that issue, but it was very critical in terms of the police's actions, specifically on the day of the massacre, because we do know that the police were entirely unprepared for the volume of miners who were going to be on the copy, and the strategy that they use of encircling them with barbed wire and then leaving a small gap for the miners to pass through as they leave their weapons on the ground. That strategy failed. It was abysmal in a sense, because the encircling of the miners actually caused the tragedy, and as we know, so many people died on that day. In terms of the miners themselves, they were very unhappy in what the president had to say about their role, because the miners feel that they were the victims. They feel that they were the ones who were being targeted by the police. They feel that the government, and the police in particular, had no role to play in a simple wage strike between the miners and Lonmin. So for the government to now actually come and blame the miners for their involvement in a wage strike with their employer is something that they can't tolerate at this present. And the people that I spoke to were very angry at the president, and they felt that they were misrepresented in terms of what he had to say about them. If you were to look at Marikana now compared to 3 years ago, very little has changed. There's still a very large, sprawling squatter settlement that many of the miners live in. There have been some improvements in terms of the hostels and some of the dwellings that the miners do live in, but the vast majority of them do not own houses, and the situation is still really the same, which has caused a lot of dissatisfaction amongst the miners, because following this tragedy, one would hope that there would have been a large-scale intervention by Lonmin and by government to ensure that the lives of these miners improves and to compensate them for the tragedy that they faced on that fateful day. But the situation hasn't improved. These guys are migrant laborers that come from far-flung areas of South Africa, and they come here to try and make a better living for themselves and to feed their families back home. But actually achieving that, there's very little financial reward for them. It's still a daily struggle for them on a constant basis.